The Arizona Cardinals are coming into Green Bay to take on the Packers in Week 6. I've taken a look at the coaches' film from last week for the Cardinals. They had a 1-point victory against their rival, or one of their division opponents, the San Francisco 49ers. And in that game, they played excellent defense, and they were efficient enough on offense to get a win. So let's take a look at that film. I've picked out maybe 12 plays or so to look at, just so we can kind of see what you're going to expect in the game on Sunday at Lambeau Field. Now, offensively, we're going to focus on this play on McBride and, of course, Kyler Murray. Those two have been playing very, very well. McBride is one of the up-and-coming tight ends in the league. I'm not going to do a lot of breakdown, but, of course, there's going to be some play action, and they're going to try to get Kyler Murray to be mobile, right? Get him outside the pocket on this play here in particular. Just a little bit of a play action and a rollout, and Murray's able to make a nice throw across his body after the fake, and McBride is wide open for a big gain. So they were quite efficient on offense against the 49ers. Up next, we've got Kyler Murray, his mobility. All right, here you've got a simple read option, and he's going to take it the distance. All right, he is a threat in the air and on the ground. So that's something that the Packers are going to have to worry about. This is something that the Packers focused on in Week 1, and it could contribute to the lack of pass rush that the Packers have had. Right, they're trying to keep these mobile quarterbacks within the pocket. You've had Jalen Hurts, you've had Anthony Richardson, and now you're going to have Kyler Murray. So focusing on that read option, forcing them to throw rather than run, try to prevent those explosive runs. Now, defensively, there are possibilities for big plays, and this is going to be one. Just a nice route there by Ayuk. The comeback route leads to a big gain. Now, this Cardinals defense, they can bend, but their red zone defense in particular last week against the San Francisco 49ers was very, very strong. They had a ton of turnovers as well last week, which led to that close game and led to a big comeback for the Cardinals. They were down 23-10 at half, and they were able to squeak by with a 24-23 win. And a lot of that comes from this defense. So they're able to be stout here in the red zone, and you're going to see that here on this play. Budda Baker up in the middle of the field. He's kind of that McKinney equivalent, right? And he's playing very well as a safety in this league, the post safety position. You can see he's number 3 there. But this play, they just had good coverage downfield, forcing a rollout. 49ers end up scoring on this possession, but figured this was one of the plays where they had stout red zone defense, and there are several others throughout this game. Now we've got Marvin Harrison Jr. as well, the number 4 overall pick. This rookie has been playing very well. Had a rough game in his first career game, but since then he has been on fire. And there you just have a nice catch in man coverage. A very nice ball by Murray here, putting it on that back shoulder, allowing his receiver to make a catch. So if the Packers decide to play man, right, that is something that they're going to look to try to expose. And to go in the air, you also have James Conner. Here you've got him on a screen, but he's a pretty solid running back. He's a power back. He will run through you, but he's got great contact balance. And this catch here, he just scoops it off the top of his lineman's head. Whoop. Able to slip a tackle, maintains balance, breaks another tackle, maintains balance, and then keeps going. All right, so he's a pretty solid back with that contact balance. Now, defensively, it's something that the Packers can exploit. This is a common principle among a bunch of teams, but you've got a doubles formation, you've got a 2x2, and this is going to switch to a trips. All right, so they're going to motion over, and then you've got a single receiver on this right side, so they're going to bring this corner down and play man. All right, so they're going to play man on the back side, and then they're going to have zone principles, a zone match principle on the trip side, and that's something that the Packers could exploit, right? Having this motion, he's still outside leverage, right? And this is just going to be a nice route by Kittle, setting up his route outside, and it's going to be a catch. So by using motions, moving receivers, forcing them into those trips principles, Kittle uses his hands there, gets some separation. He is open, but he just drops it. All right. And that was kind of the story of the 49ers in this game when I was watching the film. Just a ton of mistakes. They weren't able to finish drives. All right. It's, in the Packers' losses that we've seen, it was very similar to those games. Something the Packers can do to exploit their defense would be these power runs. The Cardinals defense, again, played well this game, but here you've got a couple pulling players, notably the right guard and the center. And this is just going to be a gap scheme. Get those guys outside, lead blockers, and that creates a huge seam. So there are some vulnerabilities in this Cardinals defense overall on the year. If you look at the entire kind of work that they've put, they're still in the bottom 10 in the league. All right, they just had a really strong performance this last week, and we'll see if they're able to continue that performance this week. Quite rare that I include special teams, but we've got a vulnerability here on special teams. Just keep your eye on 87 here on the end. He doesn't really react much. He's going to pinch, and that allows a guy to get to the outside, and that ends up being a block from the middle. All right, so there's some push on the interior as well, and you get a block here on the interior. So even though he's trying to pinch, they let a guy on the outside, so it makes it tough for the kicker because he can see this guy out of his peripheral coming off the edge, right? Probably rushes it, kicks it a bit low, and that ends up being a blocked field goal that gets returned for a touchdown. So even though this was a 24-23 game, one of those touchdowns came from special teams for the 49ers. So that just kind of gives you an idea of how stout their defense was in this game. We've got the end zone angle. 92 gets a paw up, and it's taken back to the end zone. This next play, we're going to focus on Bosa. I think the Cardinals are probably going to try to attack the edges and see how disciplined the Packers' edges are going to be. And we've seen in the past couple defensive breakdowns that I've done with Rashawn Gary, he has not been very disciplined on the edge. So that's definitely a key area that we want to focus on. And this is just good recognition by Bosa. He notices, oh, we've got a little bit of a swing screen. He's patient, and he's able to get a pick. All right, so forcing that turnover puts his team in good field position. This is why they were able to get up to a huge first half lead against the Cardinals, but weren't able to stack anything up in the second half. Here's another one of those plays with good red zone defense inside the 20. Got empty formation for the 49ers. Get the ball snapped. You start to get pressure on the outside, so that's going to force Purdy to move his eyes. He's going to step up in the pocket. He's going to escape. He's rolling out to his right, so that basically cuts off this half of the field. And you've got good coverage downfield, right? You got three receivers on the far side of the field. You still have this high safety, so Kittle's putting his hand up, but if Purdy throws that ball, that's going to be picked. So he's not going to throw that ball. And then eventually, more pressure, more pressure, more pressure, get the sack. So good coverage downfield, good pressure inside the red zone. So that's something to look for the Packers this week. And the Cardinals were pretty successful in the red zone on offense. And again, you've got these threats. You've got a power back who can just drive it in. You also have Murray, who's a running threat. So why not run a QB, roll out to the left here, and it's really just a play action, right? Everyone bites. You've got Connor acting as a lead blocker for this quarterback run, and then all of a sudden it's too late, and we got a quick trigger here by Murray, able to loft it up to 84, and it gets both feet down for a touchdown. And again, they did a good job of getting pressure here. You've got pressure coming off the edge here. You got a blitz that's on, and they're able to get a hit on the QB, pops the ball up in the air, and another interception, and that's essentially sealing the game. They kneel it after this, but even when they don't get pressure, what I noticed on film is all these defensive linemen, these guys, they do a good job of getting their hands up. They caused a pick earlier in the game, which I forgot to take a clip of it, but earlier in the game, one of the edges, I think it was Gardeck, the edge, gets his hand up, tips the ball, and it makes it an easy pick. So if they are not getting to the quarterback and not generating pressure, they have eyes on the QB, ready to jump and ready to swat, and that's going to create turnovers. So defensively, they had a very, very sound game, and we're hoping a road game in Green Bay, they're not going to be as sound, but you never know. So just my final thoughts. Cardinals offense has been playing extremely well. I think PFF has them rated as the third best offense in the league at the moment overall, just because they're able to run the ball so effectively, and also their passing game has been catching fire. So on defense, was this game against the 49ers a fluke, or have they kind of turned the corner? That's something that we have to pay attention to. They weren't solid for the first few games of the season. In this game, they blitzed about 41% of the time, so they're starting to add more and more pressure. So that's something that Packers are definitely going to have to be aware of, bringing more pressure, trying to cause more havoc in the backfield, causing more turnovers. So overall, I think the Packers have a slight edge. I have the Green Bay winning by about 4 points. I think it'll be a little bit of an offensive shootout. Really depends on the health of the Packers secondary, because I think the Cardinals receivers do have an advantage against our secondary, especially based on the play last week against the Rams. But I've got the Packers winning at 31-27, and we'll see if that comes true. So if you guys enjoy this type of content, please subscribe. I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next video when I break down the Packers offense against the Cardinals.